Hello, Commander Sirius here. Well guys, Daybreak Games, which wholly owns Rogue Planet Games, which develops Planetside 2, has changed hands once again. What's that mean for the franchise? What does it mean for the future of Araxis? Let's drop in. To start, I want to give you a very brief history of the company that develops Planetside 2. Originally, this company was under the umbrella of Sony, and while there were a few name changes in its infancy, it came to be known as Sony Online Entertainment, releasing beloved titles like EverQuest, Star Wars Galaxies, the Planetside franchise, and DC Universe Online. And for most of its existence, it was headed by John Smedley, a lovable character because he didn't run the show from behind the scenes. Many times he would come out, share either a blog post or communication directly with the community. That also meant he became a very polarizing character over his time there, because if something went wrong that the community didn't like, it all made its way back to him because he was very public-facing. Now, while Sony Online Entertainment lived under the Sony brand, surprisingly, very few of its products had made its way to the PlayStation platform. Amid restructuring, Sony Online Entertainment was renamed to Daybreak Games Company and sold to the investor group Columbus Nova under the name of a holding company, Inception Acquisitions. The future seemed pretty rocky at this point. There was a whole bunch of layoffs in preparation for the sale. No one quite understood who this investment firm was coming in and gobbling up the company. And then shortly after its acquisition, Columbus Nova, the parent company of Inception Acquisitions, was hit with sanctions from the US government. H1Z1, their flagship title at the time, was in a tailspin. And it seemed like Planetside 2, the core of the franchise, was about to get phased out in favor for a new battle royale, Planetside Arena. Fast forward to 2020, H1Z1 has completely died off. Planetside Arena is dead as well. It seems all the plans that the new ownership of Daybreak Games had did not come to fruition. And so, at the end of 2020, enter another acquisition of Daybreak Games, this time by Aned Global. We're going to talk a little bit more about what this means for the company, what this means for the Planetside franchise, but the exciting part of this is EG7, Aned Global 7, is actually a publicly traded company. What that means is there is a massive boost in transparency of what's going on within, because they have to release that information to investors. Previously, Sony Online Entertainment, Daybreak Games, was always privately held. So before we dive into what it means for us, let's take a peek at the juicy details. They released a timeline of the company that conveniently leaves out Planetside Arena, but it confirms that Daybreak Games owns Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons & Dragons Online as well. It was originally described as simply a publishing agreement, but now we know it's more than that. We also now have details on the monthly active users for each title and how many people pay for membership. The clear winner is DC Universe Online with almost 500,000 monthly active users and 41,000 subscribers. It does have the advantage of being on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch. But it does have a low ratio of members to active users. That being said, DC Universe Online does sell something like a battle pass that releases chapters to the series, so it creates paying users in a different manner. Now, Planetside 2 boasts the number 2 spot for monthly active users, but its ratio of members is low compared to all of the RPG games in Daybreak Games' arsenal. Now, this isn't very surprising. If you've tried to play games like EverQuest or EverQuest 2, it's basically impossible to play them without a membership. The time-locked progression servers require membership. Mercenaries, AI party members that are basically required to play alone. If you want good ones, you need a membership. Now, this is the page that really tells the story of how profitable every title is. EverQuest is actually still the big dog. EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It basically tells you the free cash flow these titles are creating. EverQuest in the number 1 spot, DC Universe in the number 2, and Planetside is pulling up the rear. Now, moving on, some not very surprising information is that players of these titles are very loyal. They're old franchises. You expect people that fell in love with them to stick with them. But again, the story shows that Planetside 2 earns the least per paying user and has the most trouble converting free-to-play players to paying users. To me, the long story short about all this is Daybreak is very sound financially. And while their titles aren't massive, they are all doing very well on their own right. While Planetside 2 doesn't look as enticing per paying user, I think that's mostly because they've made the great decision to focus on releasing new content over the course of last year than just trying to monetize the player base. And going forward, hopefully they can keep that pace of content rolling out, while at the same time bringing on a few extra artists that can keep a steady drip of new skins, new bundles, new camos, new armor to maximize the financial potential of the game, because I think the player base really does want to see more of those items. They just don't want them at the expense of the game expanding and getting more new content. Those two operations really have to happen side by side. So those are some of my thoughts on the acquisition, but really it would be nice to hear from someone inside Daybreak Games. And to do that, we go to CNN, the Serious News Network, who had Andy Seitz, the producer of Planetside 2, on to talk about it. Maybe a little bit terrifying if you're in the company. When did you guys hear about the news of the acquisition?
It was relatively close to when the announcement went out. I mean, we were provided the. Personally, I was provided the necessary advance notice, but it really hasn't changed what our goals have been and what they're going to be. The one thing that was actually really cool, I don't know if you caught this, but I think it was yesterday morning, the CEO and founder of EG7 had hosted a live stream and basically went over in detail about all of the public facing details that he could go over, but he specifically called out growing up playing Planetside and EverQuest. And he talked about just the use Planetside 2 as a great example of the growth that the company's seeing, and specifically as our growth started before the COVID situation. So it was great. It was exciting to us as a team to specifically get called out as and being noticed as by the founder of the company that just merged with us.
And I want to bring something up on that note. Merge is really a better word for this. Daybreak Games, actually, just in terms of sales, Daybreak Games is a larger company than EG7. So NAD Global is actually doubling in size with this merger. And then back to Andy's comment on the founder of NAD Global commenting on EverQuest and Planetside. Let's take a look.
To not speak of the IPs as well would, of course, be a fault of me as a CEO, as those are some of the greatest IPs, both from third parties and first parties in the industry. Games like EverQuest, Planetside, and of course H1Z1 are amazing IPs that have shown their value to gamers all around the world. And personally, I grew up playing EverQuest. I played Planetside in many of these games, and I am super excited about what's possible for these games going into the future.
It's great to hear that the new ownership has some knowledge of these games beyond what they can see on paper. Their job, obviously, is to maximize shareholder value. So there's always going to be some form of playing that financial game. How much can we invest and still get a good return? But the fact that he's played these titles means he has the possibility to see their potential. See what they can deliver beyond what's just on paper. Let's get back to Andy Seitz. And how is you've been through this before? How is it for the team in general? Are they just kind of used to this? Does it more comfortable that now your own production studio, that you guys are kind of separate and isolated, you'll be affected less by it, or kind of what's the emotional hit to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that anyone is used to, being, transitioning from one company to another. But at the end of the day, we're still Rogue Planet. Daybreak is still our parent company. Darkpaw, Dimensional Inc., all the Standing Stone. They're all their own sub studios. And the thing that's been great since we started this, I know there was a lot of skepticism early on about what does Rogue Planet actually mean? Like, what do these sub studios actually mean? And at the end of the day, we're still part of Daybreak, but everyone at Rogue Planet treats us like it's our own company. We wanted to prove that this Planetside 2 is our passion, that making sure that the game is supported is our passion, and we wanted to use 2020 to really showcase how much how much confidence we had in Planetside 2 and the future of the Planetside franchise.
Right, that's epic. And I mean, 2020 certainly feels like just a massive full commitment. So bravo coming here to the end of the year.
It was. I think I mentioned this a couple times just in some various interviews, but we had a some pretty lofty goals for 2020. Again, the team was there were literally 6 people, Michael and 5 other folks that were on the team, and we put together this proposal for 2020 because we knew, like, obviously the community knows how special this game is. We know how special this game is. We needed more developers on it, and the roadmap that we had laid out needed more support. So we had some high expectations, but to be honest, and I think everyone at Rogue Planet would say the same thing, like, we didn't expect the results that we saw, especially after the escalation update, and then as the year went on. So we were excited, to say the least, about how this turned out. And if 2020 was the year to really shore up the foundation of the game and reinforce our commitment to it, next year, as we talked about in the live stream, is to really use that next year's roadmap as an opportunity to start expanding, and in terms of tech, in terms of features, and really be prepared for the success that we had this year for next year, rather than being kind of caught off guard by how much success we had and needing to react to it.
Right, absolutely. And I'm probably getting way too far ahead with how this just happened, but we're seeing, they've got their own marketing arm. They've got, I think there's a couple different distribution arms. Do you guys see opportunities to maybe get some of those resources to continue to get the name of Planetside 2 out there?
Well, I can say that Petrol is a company that Daybreak has used in the past, and they're amazing. So that was the first name we noticed and went, oh, this is going to be awesome if we get access to these groups.
Okay,
so it's, for us, I mean, we obviously we put out our statement and said this, the future is very bright for us, going forward. We really meant that, because this is, like, we've got a big company supporting us. They acquired us for our experience and just our experience with massively multiplayer games. And I'm looking forward, and not just Rogue Planet, but all the studios are looking forward to the opportunities and the doors that this opens for us in terms of collaboration and having access to the sister companies now that we're part of EG7.
Right, very excited. I think maybe it doesn't mean anything, but as a gamer, it seems like a gamer company, a company that produces game now owns you rather than like a investment firm. It feels a little bit more like. So I think that's something everyone can kind of take a little bit of solace in. So guys, that's where I'm going to leave it with Andy for right now. If you want to catch the rest of the chit chat, guys, what I do is I unlist my streams after they're complete. But if you do look through my playlists, you can see the previous live stream playlist. And from there, you can navigate to the one that I have a special guest in. I'll leave a link to that playlist in the upper right. I'm going to try to bring on more team members from Rogue Planet Games in the future. So I don't want to paint this as something that there could be no negatives to Planetside. After a merger, it's natural to have some restructuring, and positions that are made redundant will be eliminated. But looking at the big picture, the pros of this merger far outweigh the cons. Planetside 2 is now effectively owned by a company that wants to be a game developer and specifically games as a service provider. They're not here to try to strip it down and maybe sell the IP to another company. They're here to build the IP and keep generating profit from it. And as long as more investments creates better returns, we will get more development of the game. Another benefit of the merger is that the company is becoming more international. It has a developer presence in Russia and all over Europe, which means those companies will either publish in-house or have relationships with publishers already established. I have seen so many people looking for a server in South America, in Russia, in China, in Taiwan, or even in Korea. And while they make do on other servers right now, there would be opportunities, if coupled with a marketing push, to enter some of these underserved markets with Planetside 2. And that brings us to another potential benefit. Included in the EG7 umbrella is the marketing firm Petrol. They have an extremely impressive resume.
The art on the wall behind me is a campaign that we've done for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. It's our 13th Call of Duty. So some of the recent campaigns that we've done and some of the work that you'll see on Petrol's reel, it goes from massive titles like Assassin's Creed Valhalla,
From Ghostwire to Doom to JBL to Call of Duty,
Modern Warfare. We launched Warzone.
Resident Evil. We've worked on Metal Gear Solid. We have worked on Uncharted. We've worked on God of War. We've worked on Fortnite. We've worked on PUBG. And you can also see that there's quite a bit of diversity from working on mobile games to console games to PC games to consumer electronics.
So guys, being under the umbrella of a company that includes such a marketing powerhouse has a greater potential for some of those resources to be pushed towards Daybreak Games and Rogue Planet Games. So fellow Araxians, that about brings you up on the acquisition/merger news. For better or worse, I don't think you'll see any effects for the foreseeable future, 6 months to a year. Rogue Planet Games is sort of their own mission, their own development studio that works on just Planetside 2 right now. And the immediate roadmap from EG7 really just discusses DC Universe Online and Lord of the Rings Online. There's a series from Amazon coming up, and they're going to try to align some upgrades to that franchise with the series release on Amazon. So Planetside 2 development should be able to just move forward as they always planned. But in the future, as they really develop their international publishing network and leverage the forces of their marketing agency under the EG7 umbrella, some of those resources could have a serious positive effect on the Planetside franchise, making the access to those games more international and getting the word out to a lot of people that missed some great gems. That'll be it for now, fellow Araxians. And until next time, I will see you Planetside.